Kind of give you an overview. Again, we want to thank you for coming out. Our goal as a church in doing these forums, this is our second community forum, our goal in doing this is simply to draw community together. It's to talk about community things. I have learned more things personally. Now, maybe you all here are from the shelter at some level or another and you all knew these things, but there's stuff that I just had no idea. And so we just want to have a conversation about what goes on in our community, especially with pets. Talking about the possibility of adopting out pets and just the needs, the things that are going on. So our goal this year is to have 4 of these community forums. This is our second one. Actually, we switched to a Tuesday night because last time we had a Wednesday night and we had pretty low attendance. People said, boy, Tuesday nights would be better, so that's why we switched. We were hoping that would bring in 200 more people, and apparently we're going to have to look for a different night. So keep telling us what you want, and that's the other thing, is we want to have forums that communicate to our community, things that people feel are necessary. So that's kind of the goal. Tonight we have Cassi Ohman here from the Marshmallow Foundation, Kortni Groft, I got that, Kortni Groft from the Humane Society of the Lakes, and Dr. Dennis Lange from Aurochs Vet Services. So just the format, we're going to interview each of them for about 20 minutes tonight, one-on-one, myself, and then actually it's going to be 2-on-1. Sorry, Robbie's going to join me tonight. It's actually said around here that as a pastor I don't have much of a heart, and so we need someone with compassion to kind of make this thing a full deal. So not the fluffy furry kind of. So, but we're just going to take about 20 minutes with each of you, and then you should have got a flyer when you came in. And if you have any questions, we have a really small crew. If this is all the bigger crew we get, then we'll just take a 10-minute break at the end, and we'll just let you ask questions. So we'll just kind of see how that goes. And you should have gotten, if you have a dog or a cat, I'll tell you what, right now, if you've got a dog or a cat, there's door prizes that Scott from Becker Pet and Garden provided for us. We just want to say thanks, Scott, for sponsoring those door prizes. So right now, you got a pretty good shot of walking away with some dog or cat food, I'm just here to tell you. So again, we just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. And Cassi, we're going to start with you. So come on up and grab a chair. Now, at one point, we were worried about having 500 people in overflow, so I hope you're not feeling like you're missing out, but a little bit. Put those right there. So if you would, Cassi, maybe, again, just like you to give us a little background. Tell us who you are, where you come from, and a little bit about the foundation you work for. And
okay. So I'm Cassi Ohman. I've been with the Marshmallow Foundation 9 years. I grew up in Frazee. I moved to DL a couple of years ago. I have 2 kids. They're both in school here. And the Marshmallow Foundation was originally started about 2006, 2007. We didn't become an official 501c3 until about 2008. We got our name because we had Coco. She was one of the first dogs that was saved. She was a chocolate lab, and she had 14 little marshmallows. So I know a lot of people kind of wonder, where does the name
that's my
Marshmallow
next
Foundation
question.
come
Where
from?
does the name come from?
So that's that.
Coco had 14?
Yes. Yep.
Wow.
So
Wow.
we cover the city impound for Detroit Lakes as well as 7 surrounding cities. We also take in, dogs that are out of that jurisdiction when they have nowhere else to go, and cats and things like that. So we cover a wide range.
And so the city actually uses you as what we would think of as the city pound, kind of? Is that how that goes? And what cities did you say that covers? That you have 7 cities around the area?
Yes. Detroit Lakes, Frazee, Lake Park, Audubon, Callaway, Monoman. So
there's got to be a couple more in there if my math is right. But I come from the other side of the state, so I'm not sure.
I'm bad at math, so there probably is. I just can't think of them right now.
And where are you guys located?
We are located inside the Lucky Dog building on Mallard Street out by Team Industries, kind of in the industrial park out there. We rent out half the building from Lucky Dog, so
okay.
We are 2 separate entities.
Okay. And how does that work for you, being two separate entities. Does that work okay to
It
put them
does.
together?
We manage because Lucky Dog is, the business there. They come first. Their customers come first. So we kind of work around them as far as using dog parks and things like that.
Okay.
But it works. We
Okay.
all
Does that
work
mean
together
dog
very
parks?
well. Dog parks?
Park, not parts.
Yes.
No, what does that mean, dog park?
No.
You might need to take a microphone and then listen to them really carefully. So can you tell us what's your capacity then for animals, for dogs and cats out there?
So we can hold 25 dogs and 77 cats. That doesn't include, if we have a batch of 10 puppies in one kennel, that brings our total to 35, or same as kittens and stuff, so we can get really full.
And do you come close to that?
We haven't in the past 2 years. We've done really well as far as getting animals moved out and keeping our numbers down and making sure that animals aren't staying too long.
On average then, how long would you say that a cat or a dog ends up in your facility?
Like how often we get them in?
No, like how long, if I dropped off a cat today, if I found a stray cat and dropped that cat off, how long would that cat on average stay there?
Okay, so when dogs and cats come into us, we have a 5-day business hold. In that time, the owners can claim the animals, and then after that point, they become ours, and we vaccinate and do all that. I would say roughly 2 months, 3 months. It depends on the animal and how difficult they are. A lot of times, if they try to stay, too long, and we're having troubles placing them and finding the right home for them, we reach out to rescues. And a lot of them are foster home based and have a lot more resources than we do. So we try to get them out as soon as we can.
Do we have a lot of foster homes?
Would you use a microphone when you...
I will.
Thank you.
Do we have a lot of foster homes in Becker County?
We don't personally. We actually have a lot more luck outside of the area, in the cities and in Fargo areas and things like that.
But if somebody wanted to do that, they certainly could.
Oh, yes.
Don't
Sorry, her husband just is walking out of the room right now as we speak.
Yes, if anybody is interested in doing that, especially like with our more difficult ones, especially if the people have experience with them, it's nice to get them into homes and figure out what they're like in a home, because sometimes you don't see that in the shelter environment. So we get a better idea of what kind of home they need and what kind of environment works best for them.
And do you work with a family, like integrating a new pet into their household if they already have pets?
Yep, what we do is we have you fill out the application and make sure you're all approved before we get to that step, and then we either, if you're in the area, you're close enough, we bring the animal to you and have them meet your animal at that time, and at that time we also do like a home visit type thing. If you're out of the area, we do have you bring your dog in and we integrate them in the parks and things like that and make sure that they're going to get along. Yep.
Okay, I don't know about you, but that's all kind of surprising to me that maybe it shouldn't be, because it makes sense, but I would just not think that a rescue group or that you do that you'd actually go out and do, it sounds like home visits. You go out and do visits with, that's kind of that. How do you staff that? I mean, how do you do that?
We struggle. A lot of times we, aren't able to do home visits, but a lot of our volunteers are absolutely wonderful about doing it if they're able. And we'll also reach out to the rescues, if they're close to this person, and maybe somebody from that rescue can go do the home visit for us because they do have experience with that. But our reason for that is we just want to make sure the animals are in the right home for them, and we don't worry about getting them returned and coming back to the stressful environment. And so it's just kind of better for the animal.
Okay.
Do you ever get returns?
Yes,
Yes.
quite often,
Really? Quite often?
even with everything that we go through.
Can you define for me a rescue? You talk about rescues. What does that mean?
So rescues are more foster home based. They also sometimes, have a trainer. They have veterinarians more on hand and things like that.
So it's actually a location. It's a business, if you will.
Not really a business. It's a nonprofit like us, but just foster home based.
Okay.
So a lot of them don't actually have a facility.
I have to tell a brief story. One night, I'm the station attendant at Amtrak, and I was there probably about 9 o'clock at night one night, and I heard a little cat meowing, or a kitten, and it was trying to run across the highway, and the highway was extremely busy. And then behind us, of course, is the railroad tracks, and a train was coming. And so I was afraid that it was going to get injured either way. And so I scooped it up and brought it into the depot with me, and I thought, now what?
Yeah.
And I couldn't take it home. I had 2 cats who were just learning to get along. And so I called the sheriff's department, and they were there within 5 minutes with a cat carrier, and they said they'll take it to the Marshmallow Foundation. And I had no idea that they would do that service, and I was so happy
Yep.
that it got off the streets that night.
Yep, the police officers do have keys into our building, so they can access it at any point in time. We make sure that there's a kennel back there and set up in case they need to do that.
I never would have known that.
Yep.
Do you find, are there seasons? Do you end up with seasons where it's busier? It's just, fall's coming, it's going to get busy. Winter's coming, it's going to get busy.
Yeah, there's like puppy season, kitten season. This year has been really unpredictable. We have a really late kitten season going. Puppies have been a little bit more few than the past few years. I see them around December, January a lot, and then back in, May around that time. So.
Again, just things I would not think of, puppy season or kitties. Maybe you all think that way. I don't. I just, I hear about yard sale season. I think of that or rummage, but I just wouldn't have thought of that. Let's talk for a minute about funding. How are you funded?
Oh boy. Okay.
Overfunded?
No,
Yeah,
not at all.
not the case?
We struggle every day, all the time. We rely solely on donations. We get a small amount of money for the animals that come in through the city and stay there 5 business days and become ours. But other than that, we get nothing from anywhere, really,
Okay.
besides donations.
It's all donations.
Yep.
And so you have a lot of then the workers that you have out there, a lot of volunteers?
We have quite a few, yep.
Okay. And how many, if I can just get so bold, how many paid staff do you have then?
I think about 5.
About 5?
Yeah.
And so you're trying to run. So what's a typical day then out at the Marshmallow Foundation for you? Sounds like no typical day.
It's crazy. Today I had to run to the vet and get a rabies done, and that dog got claimed. I had to take in 2 dogs who were being returned to us. I also had to have somebody wait to bring in 2 cats, which will come to us tomorrow. I also have a cat going out tomorrow. What else happened today? I also had a cat come in through the city in a live trap. So sometimes they're not always friendly in those situations either. Luckily, this one was. So sometimes you can, you have to get the kennel all set up, ready, lock everything down, and manage to get this cat into a kennel without it getting out and loose and things like that. So it can get pretty busy.
Okay, and you have somebody there with you usually? You're not by yourself typically?
There are days when I'm by myself.
Okay.
There are days.
Are you open on the weekends?
We are open Saturdays 8 to noon. And then Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
So can you talk to us a little bit about adoption? What does adoption look like out at the Marshmallow Foundation for dogs or cats? Or what does that look like?
So we have you start by filling out an application online. At that time, it gets sent to our volunteers who review them. Our volunteers, we have one who lives in the cities, one who lives in Perham. So they're kind of sporadic. They have full-time jobs, so they're doing all this in their spare time pretty much. They do an amazing job, though. I mean, we call references, we call vets, we speak with the adopters, make sure, this dog is going to need this or this cat's going to need this. These are things that are going to make the adjustment easier on them. We also do background checks. We check Facebook. We pretty much just try to do as much checking as we can. I know it sounds crazy, but
It just is shocking to
Yes.
me. It's good. That's good. I'm surprised.
it's amazing what we get done with such a small amount of people that we have. It is.
Okay. Wow. And so the adoption process, you fill out the paperwork and
And then once you are approved, if you have not met the animal, we make sure that you come meet the animal. If you still want the animal after meeting it and everything goes good and we still think that it's a good fit, we have you sign the adoption contract and take the medical records and you're good.
and that costs?
Well, for our younger dogs, we have $225 before tax. Kind of the medium range age dogs are $200 before tax, and then the older senior type ones are $125 before tax. Cats start off with $90, $75, and then I believe $50.
So if you're looking to adopt, then it's good to go in and tell them that that cat looks old. I'm not sure that cat comes.
I think we're pretty well trained to know
You
the
got that?
difference. Yeah.
All right.
So all their first shots and everything are taken care of?
Yep, unless they are too young and they're not able to do that. What we've been doing there is kind of a foster to adopt contract. So you'll take them home and you'll foster them until that time period is done. Once they're all vaccinated, spayed, neutered, you can officially sign the adoption contract at that time.
And that's what the cost is covering. You don't have a vet on staff then,
No.
or on site. Where
No.
do you do all those services, or
Pine Shelter and Perham.
Pine Shelter and Perham?
Yeah.
Okay. Explain to us a little bit about the no-kill. I was told initially, and Cassie and I had a conversation, but I was told initially that they were a no-kill shelter, and she explained that to me, because that's not really true. I mean, it's
Right.
a goal.
So we are very, very low kill. We try to avoid that as much as possible. But there's situations where like feral cats come in and we can't do anything. You know, you can't handle that cat. You can't expect somebody to adopt this cat. It's just going to sit here. A lot of times with the cats, what we've been doing lately is been able to do like a TNR program, which is trap, neuter, and release, or trap, spay, and release, whichever one you'd like to look at it. So then they're released kind of into like a cat colony type thing where they live outdoors and not have to deal with people. But then they're all fixed. You don't have to worry about them making more. They're also microchipped, so if they are caught again and you scan them and you realize that they have a microchip, you can call wherever they're registered to and they can tell you, well, this is a TNR, you can release them. And then a lot of times with the dogs, you know, if they have a history of biting, you know, there's nothing, we try to reach out for rescues as much as we possibly can, but you can't risk adopting that out to somebody who doesn't have experience, who's not able to handle it. And, you know, if that dog has 4 or 5 bite incidences on it, you can't risk that. You can't expect somebody else to risk that either.
Okay.
In the TNR program, do you release it back to the area that it came from?
A lot of times, those animals that are trapped are found within city limits, so no, we do not. We try to find country areas for them.
TNR, trap, neuter, and release.
Yes.
Okay. Again, hadn't heard of that. Maybe you all have, but I have not. So it ends up really being, instead of a no-kill, it's a low-kill. I mean, that's really the goal.
You can't save them all, and when they come into you, you know, super sick, and, you know, it's to the point where they're nearly there anyway. Like if they were hit by a car, found on the side of the road, you can't just let them sit like that.
Sure. So what is the way that a community like ours can help with the Marshmallow Foundation? How do we help? What do you need from the community?
Any sort of volunteering, any sort of, you know, like I said, we transport to rescues a lot of times. So a lot of times we need help with those transports, going to different places and things like that. Transporting to the vet, coming in and cleaning. Our busy days for cats are Fridays and Mondays. Those are our full clean out days. So we have pretty long days on those. So those would be days to have nice people in, and when it's nice out, I know it's about to get cold, but being able to walk the dogs and get them outside.
Okay, whole nother realm. You have volunteers then that come out and just walk the pets and do that, walk the animals? And
clean them. And
why does this not cross my mind?
As far as
I don't.
donations, do you prefer monetary donations over, say, pet food or things like that, or do you accept that as well?
definitely take both. If you're donating pet food, that means that I don't have to run to Walmart and get it. So that is very helpful for us. Things like bleach and laundry soap and dish soap and basic cleaning things too are always nice. A lot of times we set up like big spay and neuter days, which would be nice to have donations specifically made for. And so,
Is it hard for, like, if somebody wanted to donate beds? Is that something that you don't have because of maybe the flea factor or something like that?
Like the big fluffy beds.
Yes.
A lot of times those are very hard for us to wash. So they are very, very nice, especially when we get the old ones in. We do have them set aside for them. So we do use them, a large abundance of them. I hate to say no because I know we will need it. So we do, set things aside for when it comes time to need those.
All right. Well, I would say we're at about our 20-minute mark, so...
Oh, I made it.
You made it. Is there anything else that you would just like, you have 25 people sitting in front of you and you have the opportunity to just address them, and so what would you like to say to this group of people who came out to hear specifically about pets and
Any of you who do support us and do come out and do all that sort of things, I just want to thank you for being there, and we couldn't do it without you. And also, if any of you, are curious, you want to come check us out, you want to come volunteer, let us know. Come out, visit. We're here, so.
I have one more question for you. I heard that you do dog training or pet training, and also if somebody wants to go on vacation, would you house their cats for them? Can they?
We don't do
that
that personally.
Okay.
That is the Lucky Dog side of things. That's the business
And the training
part of
too?
It. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Man, she got out of that one quick. Let's get that clear
The
right
one
away.
thing.
All right, well, let's give Cassie a hand and say thank you for coming out tonight, speaking with us. I should grab the water.
Please. Thank you.
So next we have Kortni. She's going to come up with us. Kortni brought us some pets from the Humane Society of the Lakes. And Amber gets to hold Molly. We think. Well, again, thank you so much for coming out. Go ahead and grab that. It doesn't bite. I know you're not necessarily up for public speaking, but that's okay. It's a small public.
Yes.
The videotape, though, the people that are watching online is over the top. So, thanks for coming out again. Tell us a little bit about your background and who you are and what you got going on and how you got involved with animals.
All right. Well, I've always been involved with animals. I have been with the Humane. Oh, I'm Kortni Groft. Sorry. I've been with the Humane Society of the Lakes since 2008. I started volunteering there when I was 14. I got hired shortly after that, which is awesome, and I've been there ever since. I am a mom of 2 as well. I have lots of pets. I always have pets. I am a part-time worker out there. The Humane Society is a no-kill shelter as well. A lot of what we do is the same as Cassie said, that they do at the Marshmallow Foundation.
And so where is the Humane Society of the Lakes?
We are about 3 miles north on 59. We're right past the 59er gas station.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about your location. How many pets can you house out there, and dogs, cats?
We can house 25 dogs and 25 cats.
Is it the same thing if you have a dog that's got 6 pups? Correct. That's still considered as one.
Yes, until I believe 6 to 8 weeks of age or something like that, then they have to be considered as individuals.
Okay. And in the course of a year's time, how many strays, how many dogs, cats do you think will kind of come through your facility?
Right. Actually, to date of this year, we have taken in 244 animals.
No way.
And that is actually the exact same number that we took in last year.
244 in 11 months.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, who does that surprise other than me? Are you serious?
Yep, and over the past 9 years, we have taken over 2,500 animals in.
Wow. Most of them local?
Yes, yeah.
Because she just told me a story that you all got to hear. She just told me, I don't even know how I got in on it, but so most of them are local.
Yes, yeah. We just started doing some transporting from Texas because our dog intake has been extremely low.
They're importing.
Yeah. Well, they actually contacted Amber, our assistant manager, through Facebook. I don't even know. It was pretty much out of the blue. She just, hey, I see you work at the Humane Society of the Lakes. Do you want some dogs? Pretty much. And so far we have taken 25 dogs from Texas. And actually next Wednesday we are getting 8 more.
So this, okay, I just want to, so you're bringing in, you have enough space there, and they're just that full? I mean, there's just other areas of the country that they just absolutely cannot take care of them. It's, the whole concept of shipping a dog from Texas up here, or 8 of them,
Yep.
from Texas up here, somebody has to drive them
Yes.
up here.
Yep.
That's cheaper. Now, you told me that those are mostly kill sites.
Yes, in Texas, their populations are extremely high compared to us. I guess we take much better care of our animals than down there because, their population is just out of control. So the majority of the shelters down there are high kill shelters. So a high kill shelter is a shelter that sees euthanasia as a way of population control. So whether it's 14 puppies, whether it's a 14-year-old dog, that is there because they are just so full and just crazy strays all over the place.
And do they, again, this is just for information, but do they then get a pet in, an animal, a stray, and do they get it in, keep it so long if it's not?
Yep. By law, you have to keep an animal for 5 days. So you have
So
to
they
house
would
it.
they would euthanize after just 5 days?
Correct. Yes.
Wow, that's kind of crazy.
So we feel very good about it, especially with our numbers being so low. We actually have a wait list for our cats almost always. We're almost always full on cats just because everybody's got barn cats and they don't spay or neuter them, so they're just running amok. But dogs. We're on Facebook all the time, messaging people who are trying to get rid of their dogs, saying, "Hey, we have room for them. Bring them into us. We'll find them a good home." Versus,
is Facebook a way that you try to adopt out as well? You try to use
absolutely.
this?
Yep. We have our own webpage, and we actually have KDLM come out as well, and they do little videos on some of our animals about once a week. They just go in our cat rooms and they video them playing, and they play with them and go outside with the dogs, play fetch with them, just to get our animals out there.
Okay. You had a question, I saw?
Yes. In the feral cat situation, like if you have pets and there's feral cats in your area and you can't trap them or don't have a way to trap them or get them in, what do you suggest in care for them? When you said the number of animals you got in, I did not think that did not surprise me. We recently moved a year ago, but the 6 months before we moved, we actually had 6 or 7 different cats, different times in 6 months that were coming to our door for food.
Right. We definitely take in strays as well as surrenders as much as we possibly can. Like I said, with our cats, we are always full. We are at max capacity all the time. We also have a deal with PetSmart where we have some housing up there, and that's where actually the majority of our cat adoptions come from because they're a much larger area than we are. So we're always moving cats in and out of our shelter. For like the feral ones, it's just really difficult because you can't place them in a home because they are feral. They will, attack you if you try to get close. We definitely do our best. We have, kittens that come in. They're a lot easier to handle and get over their fear of humans. We actually, quite a few of our litters lately have been pretty freaked out when they come in, and they take quite a few weeks to get used to humans, but we definitely do our best.
Okay, I have another question. You're funding then, how are you funded? How are you funded?
We are solely funded by donations, by individual and community.
Okay, can I expose my ignorance here for just a minute? And I'm just going to ask for a show of hands. Maybe you all knew this, but how many of you, I thought that the Humane Society, if you've got that title, quote unquote, that you're part of like the Humane Society.
No, we are
and that there's
not.
Government funding behind that. I would have, if anybody had asked me, I'd have said, well, of course they're funded. Anybody else think that? See, there's 2 of us that are ignorant in this room. Okay.
Right.
So does the community know that? I would have thought they're the Humane Society. They get money from the state, the federal, from taxes, from someplace.
A lot of people do assume that, but yeah, we are by no means affiliated with the National Humane Society. We are our own private little sector over in our La La land over there.
Just north on 59 all by
Yep.
yourselves, all right?
Exactly. But yeah, we have fundraisers throughout the year. We have a lot of generous donators that come to just about every single one of our fundraisers, as well as just donate throughout the year. We do apply for grants, but it's we just got a new tub from Petco because of a grant that one of our business managers applied for. So we definitely do as much as we can with grants from, businesses and stuff like that, but we are, like I said, solely the community and individual donations.
So you've shocked me in a couple of places already tonight. Number one, you're importing pets or importing animals. Go ahead, Robbie.
Do you take cats and dogs only?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, we've been around for 25 years, and a lot of our volunteers have been around for 25 years. We just built our shelter in 2007. But prior to that, when we were foster home based, we did do some horses and goats and stuff like that. But as of now, we are strictly dogs and cats.
In the event that there's a neglected horse or something, where do they go?
Well, from working at
Dr.
Aurochs,
Lange.
actually, I haven't personally worked with him, but I know he has called several times on some neglect cases. Is Wade Hansen with I believe it's the Humane Society. He is an investigator, so I actually just had a lady come in who wanted to kind of surrender her horse, but she wanted to know where to, and I just told her to, like I said, I just knew that from working over there, and so I just gave him his number. I'm like, by no means am I saying you are neglecting your horse, but that he would just have a better reference of where to point you to. Yep.
So I have a question. This struck me last night as I was thinking about this. Let's just say that somebody has a stray dog that ends up being, I don't know, that say their brother-in-law says, hey, I got a dog for you. And so you end up with a dog, and this dog, you just can't take it. So you end up bringing it to the Humane Society.
Right.
And the 4 or 5 days goes by, and you do whatever you can, and so now 4 or 5 days goes by, and the dog is now yours, and a week later somebody adopts the dog, and then somebody comes along and says, hey, have you seen a dog that fits this description? A, has that ever happened?
Yes.
B, how awkward is that?
It is very awkward. So what we do, since it technically, after the 5 days, it is our, property. I hate to say that, but technically they are our animal. So we can, we pretty much have, custody of the animal. So we can, by law, adopt them out. So what we typically do is we give the adopters the chance to contact the previous owner. But they have, because we can't release the adopter's name. So if the adopters want to get in contact with the previous owner and, meet up, or if they want to give the dog back, or, whatever they would like to do, it's completely up to the adopters.
So how many times a year does that happen?
Not very often. I think in the entire time I've been there, there's been 2 cases for sure. But yeah, it's very strange.
Wow, that would be a tough place to be in.
Yes.
But so you can't give that information back out. You
Right.
do you kind of reverse it. You
Right.
give the adopter the opportunity.
Yep.
Okay. Well, it's good that they have the opportunity.
Right.
Anyhow. And as far as the, I've kind of wrote this down as well. What is the best case scenario and the worst case scenarios for animals that come into the shelter? What's give me the highlight first. What's the
Right.
best case scenario that you deal with out there?
I think the best case scenario is as soon as they go up on our website or something like that, somebody is completely interested in them, adopts them after the 5 days. We still hold them to get them up to date on their vaccination, so they're there for the 2 weeks, but after 5 days they can be adopted. The worst case scenario is they don't get adopted. I mean, we are a no-kill shelter, so we only euthanize if it is, like Cassie said, too sick to manage or too aggressive to work with. So, I mean, we've had dogs in the past that have been in our shelter for well over a year, and then finally somebody
Really?
with a soft heart comes in and scoops them up. So,
Do people ever put in requests like, I am looking for a chocolate lab? When you get one in, please call me.
we used to do that, but it just didn't work out very well. So we give them our website and say, hey, whatever goes
Check
up
it
on our
out.
website is what we have.
We have a
So,
bill.
and especially since, if we had a list of 100 people and we would have to remember all 100 of those people of what they wanted. It didn't work out. So yeah, we just inform them to keep a lookout, keep stopping in, and it's ever changing.
So Cassie did mention that sometimes adoptions don't work out.
Mhm.
You guys deal with that same thing,
Yes.
I'm sure. What happens in that scenario that an adoption doesn't work out?
So per our contract, we have, the adopter has 7 days to bring the animal back and get their full refund of the adoption fee. After 90 days post-adoption, they can bring the animal back and not pay a surrender fee but after the 90 days, it's either a $30 or $60 surrender fee, due to being fixed or not. So, and per our contract, we like the animal to come back to us. So we know the animal.
Got the history.
Yep, exactly. We want to place the animal in a home. But yeah, it happens actually more frequently than I think people think.
Does it?
Yes, especially with puppies. People don't always think through on puppies. They're
So
always so cute, but
out of 10 puppies that go out,
actually, from our 14 puppies that we just had from Texas, only one of them came back and she got adopted right away again.
okay. So 1 in 25, 1 in...
I mean, it
Well, there's one
really,
in 14,
right,
but-
it really varies. I would say we get anywhere between 5 plus a year.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So it's not terrible, but people.
But it's the whole process you have to go
Right.
through.
Exactly.
And how does that, I know every animal is going to be individual, but how does the dog deal? How does the puppy deal with that? I mean, do they get kind of freaked out again coming in, or
I think
Or who knows?
it's harder on the adults than it is puppies. I mean, puppies adjust to just about anything, and especially kittens too. They don't really get freaked out by a whole lot, and they adjust so fast. Adults, especially older adults, it's a lot harder, especially when they're surrenders, when they're used to being in that home. In a home setting, they come and they have to, be stuck in pretty much a little box. We definitely do as much as we can to walk them as much and let them outside in our yards and stuff like that. But it definitely doesn't replace being in a home.
And do you have any immediate plans as far as facilities out there? Are there any things you guys are looking to do, add on, change kennels, change rooms, there's stuff coming up that's in your works?
We are in the midst of kind of revamping some of our interior stuff. So we have an office in there. We would like to redo that. We actually just added on some intake kennels. So if we have pets that come in that are sick, especially dogs, they don't go out into our main yard where all of our healthy pets go. So that was absolutely awesome. We're just looking for more storage, of course, because there's never enough storage for everything that you have to have. And that's the main ones that I know of at this time.
Okay.
Do you utilize foster homes as well?
We do the best we can, especially with puppies, kittens with mom that are just small. We definitely don't want them. We would prefer them not to be in our shelter because of all the pets coming and going, and you never know what kind of sickness or illness they're going to have. So we would prefer them to be, in a foster home based versus in the shelter until their, immune system is a little built up. And sometimes with our more needy cases, we definitely try to get them into a foster home so we know what kind of home that we should be looking for them.
Are your foster families trained in how to give them meds or whatever they require?
We can definitely train them. A lot of times it's just people who come in and say, hey, I'd like to foster. We're like, absolutely, fill out an app and we'll give you a call when we have something needed. And I know a lot of times we'll actually go out and administer the vaccines or give them the dewormer when they need it. Or they can bring the animals to us and we can do it there as well. But if they definitely need meds, we would brief them on how to do it before.
Well, very good. You have successfully fulfilled 20 minutes. And so we just want to say thanks again. We just appreciate you coming out tonight. And again, you've got an opportunity with 25 people to give one last pitch. Tell us what you want, what you need, how we can help.
Absolutely. So everybody who has donated or has come out and helped, I absolutely thank you. We definitely need it all the time. If you want to come out and help, come on out. We're actually having a volunteer orientation this Thursday, so in 2 days at 6 p.m. out at our shelter, and that does have to be completed before orientation. We just like to kind of brief you on what we do and how we do things and what we kind of expect from you and what you expect from us. And yeah, if you're interested in anything at all, I mean, foster home, just coming out and looking at our shelter, I mean, come on out. We accept everybody.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and just really appreciate your time tonight. So thank you.
We're going to talk about Molly and the kitties at the end of the night.
Well,
Or
we could talk about Molly
could
and
you
kitties right now.
introduce-
They came with you.
Could you introduce them?
All right. Well, these 3 little girls, one is Ember. Her name is Ember, Sina, and Sindra. I have too many cats in my head right now. They are litter mates. They came in about 9 weeks ago. So they're about 14 weeks now. They're available for adoption. There was a brother with them, but he found his forever home first. They just like to hang out and play, and they're entertaining little girls. And then Miss Molly over here, she is a pit mix. She is about 1.5 years. She has been with our shelter for probably close to 6 months now. I actually brought her home over the weekend, and she is such a sweetheart. She is an absolute doll. I was actually surprised at how well she did. She did wonderful with my 3 dogs. She's kind of afraid of cats, which is really shocking to me. But yeah, she rides well in vehicles. She's just an absolute doll.
All right. Well, thank you again. We appreciate it so much. And Dr. Lange, we can put you on the spot for a few minutes. Go ahead and grab that there. I'd like to give you a chance to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your business and what you've got going on over there.
Well, I'm Dennis Lange, and I have the veterinary practice in Audubon, in downtown Audubon. And I've been there about 12 years. I've been in practice about almost 30 years now. So in the beginning, I did mostly large animal work, cattle and horses and livestock. And as time has passed, I'm doing more and more small animal. And so that's a larger part of the practice anymore. But we still see cattle, especially in the afternoons. Most afternoons I'm out doing livestock work, and in the mornings I'm in the clinic taking care of cats and dogs.
Okay. And you said you've been there how long?
Well, we've had the practice 12 years, I think, in Audubon. Before that, I worked out of my home for about 5 years. 5 years before that, I worked for the animal hospital in town here, actually. And before that, in a practice in North Dakota and a practice in southeastern Minnesota.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about, we talked the other day, just a little bit about the veterinarian field. What is the training required, and what does that all look like?
Well, beyond college, and most of the college is sciences. It's a pre-vet or pre-med protocol, and beyond that, the veterinary schooling itself is 4 years, and 3 years of classwork. The 4th year is clinical rotations, which take place either in the veterinary hospital or as an externship in various practices. Okay. So you can do them, you can arrange wherever you want to do.
And what does the field look like at this time? I mean, are there too many vets in the area? Are there not enough vets? Is there a call for that as a career, as a need in not just in the local area, but as a whole?
Well, from my point of view, there's a shortage of large animal veterinarians. In this area especially, there are half a dozen of us, and they're all my age, and we're waiting to see who keels over first. And the small animal, I think there's a shortage of general veterinarians who want to practice in small towns, in rural areas, large or small animal. And I think the reason is because you're there by yourself and you're responsible for covering call all the time, and people find that taxing. And they want to live in a bigger city. And so there's room for a number of veterinarians in this area, I think, who could make a nice living. I don't know about in larger cities. I think right now they're expanding. There are more and more veterinary schools. There are more and more places in the veterinary classes. So I guess, and I think they're all finding jobs. So
Okay.
I think that's fine.
And you've done some training, you've had some externships at your, people have come into your site to get some additional training, or?
A little bit. We've had some veterinary students, and we've had a number of veterinary tech students. In fact, Kortni's there right now. So she's completing her veterinary tech externship. And so we've had a number of vet tech students go through the clinic.
What would that be considered? What does a vet tech do?
Well, veterinary technicians assist the veterinarian, and so I suppose equivalent to a nurse. And so they assist the veterinarian. They can do a number of treatments and procedures by themselves and under direction of the veterinarian.
Okay. Robbie, you had a question. We were talking a little bit about critters.
I lost it.
You did? She was,
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I found it. I read the article recently, I think it was in the Detroit Lakes paper, about the influx of mice this year, and because the shortage of acorns, and so they're coming in everywhere, and people who haven't seen mice before now have them in their home, and so they're putting out rat poison or mouse poison, and you were treating some injured dogs or sick dogs, and I believe it
Right.
wasn't it? And what can people do as an alternative to the rat poison, or how do they keep their pets away from it?
Well, there are poisons that are in containers, and they're safer than other ones, but dogs can chew them up if you're not careful. I mean, you can set out a trap line, try to secure your house. Those are the things that you can do. It will pass. You can coexist with your little rodent friends if you like.
Coexist? I'm just saying that probably ain't going to happen at my house. So you actually have been treating dogs that...
Yeah, and so if we know that frequently the owner knows, they've noticed that their dog is eating poison, and if that's the case and it's happens soon, we can get the dog to throw up the poison. We can treat them with charcoal, and they do fine usually. If the problem is that they might not recognize it until it's a time has passed, and then it's too late to remove it by vomiting. It may be too late for even charcoal to work. And there are a couple of kinds of rat poison. The old style was a warfarin type, which is a blood thinner essentially. And that doesn't act very fast, so you have several days to act before that's a problem. So those are fairly easy to treat even late on, but the newer kinds of rat poisons are neurotoxins, and once they take effect, we don't have very effective ways to treat them. They frequently die.
Really? Okay.
If a mouse consumes the poison and then a cat consumes the mouse, will the cat
They can.
necessarily?
Well, they have to get
Be
enough,
sick.
but it's a possibility. They can get a relay toxicity, and yes, if they eat enough mice that have these pellets or whatever in them, yeah, they can get, and that's of course something that you don't recognize this. You wouldn't know. Your cat would come in sick and be hard to diagnose that it had eaten a poisonous, mouse at some point in the past.
That's one I wouldn't have thought of. Cat ate the mouse. There you go. So do you see are there any exotic animals around the area that you deal with, in the large animal stuff?
Tomorrow I'll see buffalo.
Okay.
For example. I don't see very many exotic animals. We see, rabbits,
Okay.
An occasional guinea pig, and see some poultry.
Do you do deer? I mean, are deer farms
I
around?
do a little bit of, I've seen some deer and do some work with deer farms, yeah.
Okay.
I know in our family specifically, you've tended to one son's dog that had gotten shot and assisted us getting him to Fargo for surgery. You've removed a fishing lure from our other son's dog's tongue, who always chases fishing lures. What is some of your bizarre cases that you've seen?
Bizarre. Well,
In our family, that's just normal. So I don't know.
we do
Bizarre.
see, though less, I think. We used to see a more gunshot wounds. Let's see, dogs that were caught in coyote snares or traps. Porcupines all the time. We see lots of porcupine dogs. Otherwise, I don't know anything particularly bizarre, but we see those fairly routinely.
Rabies cases?
I've never seen a rabies case here. We have suspects, and I thought that I had some that I was strongly suspected. They came back negative. The one rabies case I was involved with was before I moved here. Were baby calves actually, and the baby calves were dying on a farm, and the other vets in the practice had been out a couple times, and they continued to die. And I went out, and it was a baby calf, and it just looked sick, and I sent it off to the diagnostic lab, and they said, guess what, it has rabies. And so the whole family had to get rabies vaccinated. I had to get rabies vaccinated as well. So, apparently a skunk had gone through the farm, and it was not anything I was suspecting at all, but that's what it turned out to be. So with rabies, you can be fooled. It's not always a furious, salivating, aggressive animal. Sometimes they're just sick.
Now, with winter coming on, is there anything in particular that, again, what should we be doing to care for our pets?
Well, it's all common sense. So they need some kind of shelter, and depending upon the kind of dogs, we have huskies that are perfectly happy at 25 below. So I think they need some place to get out of the wind and have that kind of shelter. In the wintertime, you have to pay attention that they get water, because their water dishes will freeze up. And if they're outside dogs, they need to eat more, because they need more calories to keep the furnace going. But other than that, it's basic common sense, I think.
Keep your pets inside when it starts to get really cold. Again, other than if you got a big husky that's
Well, it depends.
used to it. But
If they're accustomed to it, and many of these big old dogs that can, handle a cold just fine, and some of these little dogs, they can't handle any cold at all.
we had a Yorkie that slipped outside one day when I took my daughter to lunch, and we came home about 3 hours later, and it was probably 10 below. And I couldn't hardly even pick her up. I mean, she was hurting and whining so bad. It probably took us
All right.
a couple hours just to get her back to where she had normal body temp. So yeah, it's just some of the regular stuff to really be cautious of. Anything you'd like to say to 25 people sitting here, just thinking about winter and thinking about, you're dealing with animals all the time.
Well, I think most things are common sense. I think that we know what we're supposed to do, though not always. I guess not everyone, not always. I have this kind of advice. I have a colleague, a friend of mine who's a veterinarian, and she has 3 daughters. They're about 20 years old now, early 20s, and they're asking, well, Mom, when can we get a pet? When can we get a dog? When should we take that? And she said, well, here's her advice. That she said, before you take on the ownership of a dog, you should have 3 years of steady income, so that you can actually take care of a dog. So that's kind of good advice, I think.
Wow, that's we got to remember that.
I read a story once about Ben Affleck, the movie star, who, when he was younger, wanted a dog. And his mom said, you can get one. But first, for the next 6 weeks, you're going to get up every morning before school, 5:30, 6 o'clock, and walk your dog. So she bought him a leash, no dog, just the leash. And he had to carry this, and she'd make him walk 6 to 8 blocks and bring home. And then he had to get a dish ready and put water out. And then when he came home from school, he'd want to go shoot hoops with his friends. No, you're going to walk your dog. And she made him do that for like 6 to 8 weeks. He didn't get a dog until he got older.
And had kids. Well, again, thanks. If there's anything you'd like to share, again, other than the common sense part of things, we just want to say thanks for coming out tonight and really appreciate it. We're going to take a 10-minute break here, and then we'll give away our door prizes, and then we're going to ask you to come on back, and we will give those away, and then you've got a chance for some question and answer. So thank you very much. So grab a glass of water and a snack, and if you want to talk to them, otherwise come back in about 10 minutes. We'll put a little counter up, and you come back in 10 minutes, and we'll finish up here. So.
I know.
And they're close to getting their way.
I would never split that. Which one over? But I changed your name to
Check.
You guys did really well. There's some snacks out there, guys, if you want to go have some snacks. I think there's snacks.
Yeah, thank God for Dr. Lange. Oh my God, that scared the hell out of me. You know, and it took, I think, after I started to get her, I let her be outside. This is what her life was. I didn't.
What's that? Church. With the offerings. Okay, folks, we're going to gather together here and meet and. Hi. Okay. I wonder if we could have Scott come up from the from Becker County, Becker Feed and Garden. No, Becker Pet and Garden. I'm going to get it right sooner or later. I'm going to give Scott just an opportunity to share with you what he's got coming on. If you guys could come on in, please. We'd like to finish up here. You're on.
There's some really cute cats here. So, yeah, I'm Scott Sonstad. I'm the owner of Becker Pet and Garden. And I guess when they're talking here about the Humane Society and the Marshmallow Foundation, and they're really great organizations, and it's just really fantastic what you guys are doing. So I just really compliment you on that. And along that same note, then, I know you guys are always trying to do fundraisers, and we do a fundraiser with the Humane Society, and it's coming up this coming Saturday from 10 to 2. We've been doing this like 5 years now. This is our Santa Photo Day, and with a $20 donation, you get a CD with a whole bunch of pictures, and we get a very good photographer in, and a person that burns the CDs, and they've both been doing this for us for many, many years. So for a $20 donation, you'll get a CD with a whole group of pictures, so you can pick the one that's the best. Because if you bring your kids in or your pet, somebody's got your eyes closed or somebody's making faces, so you want a half dozen pictures to pick from, and they can just bring that CD then over to like Walmart and have your Christmas cards made up. So it's a real simple, easy thing for a $20 donation, and we're making some money, and we're giving the Humane Society some exposure so people know they're out there. And I guess you guys do a lot of other fundraisers too, but I think this is just some small way that Becker Pet and Garden can help. And then along with it, we'll give you a $5 gift certificate for the candy store, and we'll have hot cider and fudge also. So this coming Saturday, I want to encourage you guys to come from 10 to 2, and we'll have a great setup for you. So
Very good. Thank you.
thank you for the time. Yeah.
Becker Pet and Garden.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you very much. Also, we handed out for pet, and we're going to do our big raffle here. There should be a drum roll. So, if you were cat number 2, and number 2 on your, you won a gift certificate, and dog number 4. Oh, I see cat number 2, and dog number 4. Anybody? Jane, that will feed that dog of yours for a year. That is Pee-Pee, right? Peppy. What's Poppy? I missed it. I was that close. If we could have you guys come on up here for just a few more minutes. All 3 of you come up and grab a microphone. What we have done in the past, we've done this one time. What we've done in the past is I had you hand your questions in to me, and then I went through them because we had a lot more questions last time. But today what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the opportunity to speak into a microphone. Check, there we go. This is our wireless mic. So if you have a question for anybody up on our panel, we're going to give you the opportunity to ask them and then let them answer your questions. So not everybody all at once, but all right, thank you. You're bailing me out.
Do I have to stand up?
No, you're good right where you're at.
All right. This question is for the rescues, I guess. I have, before I started adopting cats, I would go out to a barn, out to farms, and just, adopt one of the little farm kitties until I ended up with a couple of cats that were older, and then I found out that they had feline leukemia their whole life. And I was getting them vaccinated against the feline leukemia. And then eventually I found out, over at Aurochs Vet Service that they had feline leukemia the whole time. So how do you go about, do you guys test for FIV or leukemia?
We do. Every single one of our animals that come in, whether it's a stray, surrender, found outside like happened yesterday, we test for feline leukemia and for FIV.
Good.
We typically test ours. We work with Globe College in Moorhead, and they do most of our testing. A lot of times it's like when I spoke with another rescue, they try to do it after 6 months of age. Sometimes you can get false positives on them. There's so many different variables when it comes to the testing too. It is. If you start looking into it, our volunteer Sam was really sending me stuff one day, and I'm like, okay, this is too much. I can't take all this. But there is so many variables.
As well as I actually went to Globe University, and one of my instructors actually said that you should test 30 days after your initial test as well, because sometimes the first one can be negative, but the second one can be positive. And I know up there they also tested several times before they called it a for sure positive. But we just don't have the funding to, because the tests, I believe, are like $25 a piece or something like that. So we wouldn't have the funding to test them multiple times. But
Okay. That's it.
All right. I saw a hand in back. Will be there too.
Is that one of the vaccinations that they do get, though, before they leave the shelter?
Not typically. Usually we just test or vaccinate for the feline distemper. That's the most basic one.
that's what we do as well. And rabies, of course.
Yeah.
See a question over here? Oh, okay. Thank you. Bailing me out.
This question is for Cassie.
Oh,
Are there
thanks.
any upcoming events at the Marshmallow Foundation that we might want to know about?
Yes, we
That
do.
sounds like a plant. I just gotta say. That-
Little bit.
She's advertising on the back.
We as well have something going on this Saturday. We do have pictures with Santa too, and then we also have our open house, which we've held annually. We have a doggone chili contest as well as a frisky fudge contest. So we'll have fudge and chili tasting, and then we have a few vendors as well. And we also have our annual raffle calendar. We should be getting those out soon here, and they'll be available for purchase. They are $30 a piece, but each prize in there, there's 2 prizes per week, and then that's drawn. Really hard to explain unless you know, but the prizes typically cost more than the calendar, so it's really worth it to buy them, and it really helps us. So.
I have a question for Dr. The Aurochs Veterinary Service. Can you explain where you got your name? Is that
Well, Aurochs, the Aurochs is an extinct cattle. So like cave painting cattle are Aurochs. The word oxen comes from Aurochs.
okay?
So they were ancient wild cattle. So the last ones were eaten in Poland about 400 years ago, I think.
It explains the picture on the side of your building then too. I was just always curious about that. So, anybody else? All right.
Hi, this is for Dr. Lange. Have you ever had any horses that have been attacked by like large cats around here?
Not that I've seen, and I don't know. I know people like to think that happens, but I went to a seminar and they had a game biologist from Canada, and in parts of Canada there are feral horses, wild horses, and mountain lions, and they're regularly prey. And what they say is that they have a distinctive way that they kill the horses by biting them on the neck. That most of the things that we think of, that people like to think of, were wildcat attacks or puma attacks, are probably gone through a fence. And I've seen a lot of horses that have what look like claw marks on their rump, and it's because they've gone through a fence. So I'm not much of a believer in mountain lions attacking horses around here.
What about coyotes or wolves?
Well, I don't think they attack horses. and I don't know about wolves, but they're a little bit out of my range, but I think coyotes will clearly attack sheep, and maybe calves, and wolves probably would too if you're in wolf territory.
You just haven't seen that, though.
I haven't. No, we've had wolves. I guess no, I should take that back. That we had some wolves kill cattle, and we know this is true because the government trappers came out and actually trapped wolves. So yes.
In Becker County?
Yeah, in Becker County. Or maybe it was Otter Tail, but near here, yeah.
Any other questions? Here we go.
So a question for Cassie. Wonder if we could meet afterwards, maybe, possibly. We have a special needs kitten that we need to surrender, and wonder if we could.
We can talk afterward,
Chat.
yes. Yep.
Wow. Poppy didn't like that, by the way. I'm just heard over here, so.
I have a question too for either the Marshmallow Foundation or the Humane Society. You talked about, giving them neuter, spading them, and giving them their shots and stuff. But if you're letting these feral cats, back out again, do you declaw them, or is that inhumane for them, or what's your policy on that?
Declawing has become less common because it can be very bad for them. It can be traumatizing on the paws. A lot of times there can be bone fragments left in there, so they're stepping. And I see a lot more issues with cats that are coming in that are declawed. So I highly suggest not doing it.
We don't do any of the TNR. I would absolutely love to be able to do that, but just as a shelter, we don't have that kind of funding. My take on decline is, if you have to do it as long as it's done right, then, it can be perfectly fine. But like she said, there is also complications that come about with it.
Any other questions? I think we have a guest coming out of the far corner. Keep your cats and dogs safe here. Yeah. We have bananas for the hairy man of Vergas has just arrived.
And how, Dr. Lange, could you vaccinate him?
Yeah.
I could neuter him.
And then release him. Let's see what the pit bull thinks of the gorilla. Well, again, we just want to say thank you. For anybody else, any additional questions? We just want to say thanks so much for coming out and for being part of our community forum tonight. And if you have any feedback, anything you think we can, could, would, should do differently, we'd sure like to hear about it. And again, please feel free to grab a little snack, and please take at least a couple bananas when you walk out the door. So thanks. Let's give our guests a round of applause. And we just want to say thank you again so much for coming out. We appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity.
And Becker Pet and Feed. Absolutely. Thanks, Scott. Thank you. Thank you so much again. Appreciate you coming out.